Factions play such an important role in wrestling. In fact, they've created some of your greatest wrestling superstars. You can look back right here, and you can go watch my video from yesterday where I ranked the greatest factions in wrestling history. But in today's video, we're not going to be doing that. In fact, today's video, we're going to be looking at the most underrated factions in wrestling history, and we are going to be ranking them from 1 to 10. So I ask, if you guys are new here, to like this video and also be sure to subscribe. Make sure to hit that subscribe button because a lot of you who do tune into these videos don't often hit that subscribe button, so definitely do that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's jump directly into today's video. So a lot of these factions that we are going to be looking at today are often, just kind of swept under the rug and forgot about. And I can guarantee that a lot of you forgot about these factions that did exist. So let's go ahead and kick things off with number 10. And at number 10, I have the $1 Million Corporation. So as you guys know, the $1 Million Corporation was created by no other than Ted DiBiase Sr. Ted DiBiase retired from pro wrestling, but that didn't stop him from creating something inside of a wrestling ring. In fact, wrestlers like Psycho Sid and the 1-2-3 Kid, Kama Mustafa, Tanaka, and the IRS all joined the $1 Million Corporation. So there were numerous names that were involved in the $1 Million Corporation. And the run was not the greatest run in the world, but if you take a look, 1-2-3 Kid, also known as X-Pac, would go on to have such a high-impacted career, and he is a person that we still look at today as one of the greatest in-ring performers to this day. Also, Psycho Sid, the guy was a monster. He was a beast, all of the above, and he would go on to have a great career. And obviously, Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, created the $1 Million Corporation. Such a beautiful, beautiful idea that they put in. It came after he retired. So that's even more crazy to even think about. Like, all this happened after his in-ring stuff was done, but continuing on in his in-ring work. But ultimately, you guys can let me know your thoughts about where I put the $1 Million Corporation in this list. So do that below. Steve Austin, Rick Rude, Medusa. When I say those names, what faction comes to mind? I'll give you a minute. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you. If you dropped in the comments and you did not say the Dangerous Alliance, I'm sorry, you were incorrect. It is, in fact, the Dangerous Alliance. As you guys know, the Dangerous Alliance was created by no other than Paul E. Dangerously, also known today as Paul Heyman. And this is actually where Paul Heyman would get his big break on the mic. This is where Paul Heyman's mic skills really got to flourish. This is where we got to see the Paul Heyman, truthfully, that we see today. This wasn't, the ECW owner, Paul Heyman. This isn't the Brock Lesnar advocate, the wise man to the tribal chief, the Oracle, CM Punk's best friend. No, this was Paul Heyman really getting his break, and he really looked at underrated superstars at that time like no other than Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was a flourishing talent at the time, but hadn't gotten a big break. But Paul Heyman really looked at, now we know him, Stone Cold Steve Austin, but before he was Stunning Steve Austin, he looked at him and he said, this guy has it. He would go on to win the United States Championship at this time, and this is, again, before we even got to the point of Stone Cold Steve Austin. So when you think about Stone Cold Steve Austin, make sure that you're giving Paul E. Dangerously, or also known as Paul Heyman, all the credit that he deserves. So I have the Dangerous Alliance at number 9, but ultimately that is up for you guys, and it is up for debate, and you guys to decide down in the comment section below. So let me know what you think about where I put them down below. Kurt Hawkins, Zack Ryder, Teddy Long, Chavo Guerrero, Edge, Vicky Guerrero. Who could that be? Well, I'll tell you. You guys remember the Edgeheads? That one's funny to think about, too. But La Familia. La Familia was no other than those superstars, and it was made up of Edge. Now, this came back in 2008. It was while Edge was on SmackDown, and he was running rampant as a heel. He was feuding with The Undertaker. Vicky Guerrero at the time was the general manager of SmackDown, so she was making her presence very known. It was actually where we got, Vicky Guerrero and the most annoying woman on planet Earth, the true Karen, the biggest Karen of all Karens. Yes, that Vicky Guerrero. La Familia was very underrated at the time because it would help Edge propel himself even further into the industry than he already was. Edge at the time was a very well-known name. This faction really amplified, very amplified Vicky Guerrero. She would go on to have a pretty luxurious career with WWE after this. So it really made her a top heel in the business. You know, again, the true Karen, the biggest Karen of all Karens, Vicky Guerrero. This is how she got her big break in the business, and you have to credit Edge because Edge very much helped out in this situation, and Chavo Guerrero being a part of it. And then you had Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. Now, both of these gentlemen are no longer with WWE. They are currently wrestling inside of TNA, and you know one of them now is Matt Cardona. Matt Cardona is a beast. I think we can all say that. That guy is absolutely outstanding. But La Familia, I'm putting them at number 8, and you guys can let me know your thoughts on that down in the comment section below. WWE isn't the only place that has created some pretty awesome factions, and this is actually one of the most underrated factions. And it doesn't come from WWE. It doesn't come from AEW. It doesn't even come from WCW. In fact, it comes, oh geez, I hit my mic like that. It comes from no other than TNA. And who is this faction that I'm talking about? Well, I'm talking about the Main Event Mafia. Yes, Main Event Mafia, Booker T, Sting, Scott Steiner, Kurt Angle, so many big names that came out of it, and you got some awesome feuds out of this. You had guys like AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, so many names that were very much involved in this faction, and it came about at a time where TNA, you know, they didn't really have the footing that maybe they so rightfully deserved at the time, but they had so many big superstars at the time. Now, again, kind of like WCW, this is after a time where a lot of these guys' careers were kind of on the back burner. They were kind of done, but obviously still very big stars, could still sell a place out if, need be. And they did just that over in TNA. So the Main Event Mafia, I'm putting them at number 7. I think they sit comfortably here. At this time, I wasn't like the biggest avid watcher of TNA, but obviously you heard a bunch about the Main Event Mafia. You knew all about them. You knew who was involved. You know, again, this is at a time where the internet was kind of coming to, and you could read blogs, you could read all of these things, so people definitely knew about the Main Event Mafia, and it was not something that I was blind to. But ultimately, that's for you guys to decide if you like my spot at number 7. I don't know. You tell me down in the comment section below. Let me know how I felt. So, you guys remember in the Attitude Era where people were just, they were running rampant. It was like a pack of wild wolves. Like, the Attitude Era was crazy. People were running around doing whatever they wanted, and they were just doing it however the hell they wanted to. Now, at my number 6 slot, I have the Police of the Attitude Era. Who are you talking about? Who are you talking about? Well, I'm talking about Right to Censor. Yes, baby, Right to Censor was during the Attitude Era. And this is actually kind of, it's funny because Richard actually convinced wrestlers like Val Venus and The Godfather to ditch their former gimmicks. So obviously you guys know The Godfather, Mr. Big Pimpin'. You know what I'm saying? Val Venus, the sex machine, right? We all remember. Yeah, he actually got them to ditch their gimmick to go police the Attitude Era. Like, those guys needed to be fucking policed. I'm being transparent here. I'm just being honest. They did. They needed to be policed. The Godfather was literally a pimp. So what are we talking about? But obviously the Right to Censor, they would go on to have some pretty memorable matches. Obviously, WrestleMania, I want to say it was 17 or 18. I can't remember off the top of my head. But they were definitely involved. Right to Censor, very fun group. Obviously, Right to Censor was also ran by somebody who was in Right to Censor. I want to say it was Bray Wyatt's dad. I could be wrong, but I can't even think off the top of my head. But yes, the Rotunda Father, I think, was a part of Right to Censor. You guys can let me know if I botched that down in the comment section below, and you can also let me know how you guys feel about the Right to Censor at number 6. Okay, Edge and Christian, right? The tag team. The guys that we know and love, who currently are, at the time of recording this, they kind of finished up, but they were doing some stuff on AEW TV. But I'm not talking about Edge and Christian alone. I'm actually talking about Grangale. Grangale? Yeah, right. Edge and Christian. These 3 guys created The Brood. Now, this is obviously how Edge and Christian kind of got their break on WWE TV. It was a part of The Brood. It was like these vampires and all types of shit. It was kind kind of wicked, but it obviously created two of the greatest stars of all time in Edge and Christian, who would go on to win multiple WWE Tag Team Championships, the WWE Championships. It doesn't matter. These guys have won everything combined together. So the Brood actually really helped stamp who Edge and Christian actually were. So you really have to give the credit to Grant Gale, because do I botch that name every time? Because I want to say that's Gangrel. See, look at me. I'm all over the place. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me. It's 9:30 in the morning while I'm recording this, so bear with me. But Gangrel obviously really helped stamp who Edge and Christian were. Sorry for not being able to talk. You guys can let me know how you guys feel about the Brood right smack dab in the middle at the number 5 slot. Number 4. As a kid, I hated this faction. I hated them. I hated them so much. Oh my God, I hated them so much. It was King Booker's Court. Oh my God, I remember King Booker, the most annoying man on planet Earth. I used to hate watching SmackDown because of this guy. He beat Rey Mysterio for the World Heavyweight Championship. After Rey Mysterio, he had that great moment in the Royal Rumble. He won the title at WrestleMania, ultimately to get it taken away by Booker T, of all people, because of the things he was doing as a bad guy. You obviously had Finley, who was a part of this group as well at the time. I want to say he held the United States Championship. And this actually really helped, at a time where these guys weren't doing much. They were kind of in the mid-card, and they kind of stayed there, but it was William Regal who was the other person. William Regal is obviously one of the greatest technical pro wrestlers of all time, alongside Finley, who was also. So this group, just because of how heel they were as a kid, I despised them. I despised every single thing about this group. I hated them. I hated Sharmell. I hated Booker T. I hated William Regal. And I hated Finley. And yes, I'm crashing out a little bit because this brings back traumatizing memories. Traumatizing. I hated these guys. I hated them with a damn passion. But you guys can let me know how you guys feel about King Booker's Court at number 4 down in the comment section below. Okay, I'm going to be straight up transparent with you. If we were doing a ranking system on the best wrestling faction, technical wrestling faction of all time, these guys would be at number 1. Hands down. This group right here would be at number 1. And who am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about no other than Shelton Benjamin, Charlie Haas, and Kurt Angle. And yes, Team Angle. This faction, again, a very annoying faction, but obviously made up of some great superstars. Shelton Benjamin, Charlie Haas won the WWE Tag Team Championships. Kurt Angle was the WWE champion. And obviously Shelton Benjamin had the background at, I want to say it was the University of Minnesota. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. But he had that amateur wrestling background, and he wrestled in the NCAA. Kurt Angle obviously being an Olympic gold medalist. Charlie Haas, I'm not 100% sure on his background, but this guy was obviously a beast in the ring. You can argue me if you want to. Argue with your mama. I don't know. But these guys, they really tore the house down over on SmackDown in like 2003, 2004. They feuded a lot with the Los Guerreros. I want to say it's the Los Guerreros, but it was Eddie and Chavo. I want to say that was their name. They feuded with them, and it was amazing stuff. Obviously, Eddie would go on to face Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 20 for the WWE Championship, retaining it after he beat Brock Lesnar at No Way Out in 2004. Very good time of pro wrestling. I'll be 1,000% transparent with you. I love Team Angle. You guys can let me know if you like them at number 3, but ultimately, like I said, if we were doing best technical wrestling factions of all time, these guys would be at number 1. Let me know. So WWE had DX. They had so many different factions in the Attitude Era, and WCW had the NWO, and those two groups really stamped who WWE were and WCW were. But truth be told, there was another wrestling promotion back at that time that not many people were talking about, but they were making a huge rise through the industry, and I'm talking about no other than ECW. Yes, ECW, ran by Paul Heyman. This guy was a evil genius. This guy knew exactly what he was doing. Now, when we're talking about factions, you're probably asking yourself, what faction could you be talking about? Could it be the Dudleys? There's so many different factions that come to mind when you think about ECW, but when you think about them, that doesn't really make them underrated, right? And that's what this video is based about, being underrated. And here we have Triple Threat, and this is actually made up by Shane Douglas and Bam Bam Bigelow and Chris Candido. These three guys were Triple Threat, and obviously Shane Douglas I want to say he was the first ECW champion. He had won the NWA championship They rebranded it. I want to say that was it. I could be wrong. I can't remember the history off the top of my head. But these guys really tore the house down and really helped create what we know as ECW today. ECW is one of the most remembered wrestling promotions of all time. We still talk about them in 2025 after they shut the doors in 2001. So it's been 24 years since these guys shut their doors, and we are still talking about them today. These guys were amazing. Shane Douglas really helped push ECW over the edge. In fact, he was the guy that Paul Heyman had push ECW over the edge. Like, he won the championship and was like, yeah, this is the Extreme Championship Wrestling Championship. Like, come on. Like, that's why these guys get such a good rep on my list over at number 2, because it would be hard not to put them at number 2, because they really helped pave a way for a company that wasn't necessarily given the footing just yet. Kind of the same as DX and kind of the same as NWO. But you guys can let me know how you feel about Triple Threat at number 2. Let's leave it down there. Coming in at number 1, I have no other than the Straight Edge Society. CM Punk, Luke Gallows, Serena Deeb, as we know her now. They formed this group. It was a cult-like group. It was the Straight Edge Society. Obviously, many people know CM Punk is a straight edge man. The man doesn't do drugs, he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't do anything along those lines. And he wanted to make that known around 2009, 2010, but he was feuding with the likes of The Undertaker. And as you guys can remember, there was also that feud against Rey Mysterio. I was actually at Over the Limit in 2010 when it was the hair versus the mask match. I remember that clear as day. But also one of the biggest ones that is remembered to this day is actually his feud against Jeff Hardy. At the time, it felt like CM Punk had brought like real life into the situation against Jeff Hardy, and Jeff Hardy ultimately had a great run, and they had a great match. I actually watched it recently at the 2009 SummerSlam. They tore the house down. It was a phenomenal match, one that isn't often remembered. But the Straight Edge Society, it was this cult-like group. It was almost like scary as a kid. I was like, what the hell is happening, and why are they talking like that, and why are they doing the things that they were doing? So I have to put them at number 1, just strictly based off, number 1, who ran it and the way that it was portrayed on TV. You know, CM Punk was this brutal shitbag heel. And I know we know CM Punk today is this great good guy, but there was a time where CM Punk was just very much hated. And obviously, the way that it bled into his babyface turn when he left WWE in 2014 was just chef's kiss. A lot of it starts here. A lot of it does. But ultimately, you guys can let me know your thoughts on where I put them down in the comment section below. If you guys enjoyed my ranking system, definitely feel free to leave a comment down in the comments section below. Tell me I did a good job. And if you hated the way I did it, also leave a comment. Tell me it sucked. I don't know. Pick one. But at the end of the day, guys, if you are new here and you enjoyed or felt like you learned anything about or from this video, definitely be sure to like the video and also be sure to subscribe to the channel, because I will be uploading daily content every single day. We're going to put a counter up. This is day 2. Day 2 of not missing a single day for 365 days. So definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button and join us for daily wrestling videos. Other than that, I'll be talking to you guys later. Follow me on Twitch, TikTok, everywhere that you get all your pro wrestling content. I will be talking to you later. Peace.